There are moments in life when you encounter something so powerful, so profound, that it feels like a force of nature, something beyond your understanding. You cannot ignore it. It calls you with a voice that resonates deep within your soul, echoing across the corridor of time and experience. This is the feeling of fated love, a love that transcends mere chance and touches something far deeper within you. You see, love is not merely an emotion confined to the conscious mind. It springs from the vast hidden depths of the unconscious, a realm within you that holds the keys to your most profound desires and fears. When love arises from this place, it cannot be reasoned with or controlled. It is as if it has always been meant to be, as if the very fabric of your life has been woven to bring you to this moment. It is a force that speaks in symbols, in dreams, and in the quiet, unspoken moments that bind two souls together. In every love story, there are patterns, recurring themes that stretch beyond the individual. These are the archetypes, universal forces that shape human experience. Perhaps you have found yourself in a relationship that mirrors something much older, something that has been written into the story of humanity for centuries. This is not a coincidence. It is the manifestation of something timeless, a reflection of the deepest shared currents of the human psyche. But you must not overlook the role of synchronicity, the remarkable alignment of events that seem to happen by chance, yet feel undeniably significant. The moment you meet this person, the way their presence shifts your world, the seemingly random events that lead to your connection, these are not accidents. These are the whispers of a greater order, a deeper connection that exists beyond the surface of your life. Pay attention, for they are guiding you toward a truth you may not fully understand yet. As you walk this path of love, know that it is part of something larger, the journey of individuation. Love, especially the fated kind, challenges you to grow, to confront the parts of yourself that you have kept hidden in the shadows. It is through this process that you come to know your true self, not the version of you that the world expects, but the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It requires courage to face the unknown, to integrate the light and dark within you. It is in this union that you become whole. And so, as you stand at the threshold of this fated love, I urge you to surrender to it. Accept that there is much about this journey that you cannot control, that you cannot predict. The beauty of it lies in its mystery, in the trust that something greater than yourself is at work. Be open, be present, and allow yourself to be led by the currents of life. This love has come to you for a reason, and though you may not understand it fully, you can be certain of one thing. It is meant to teach you something you cannot learn in any other way. Do not fear it. Embrace it. For fated love feels like this. You cannot ignore it, and perhaps you are not meant to. The unconscious mind is a vast and mysterious realm that lies beneath the surface of our everyday awareness. It is not something that we can easily grasp or control. Instead, it operates beyond our direct understanding, yet it profoundly shapes the course of our lives. Its power is both subtle and overwhelming, quietly influencing our thoughts, actions, and decisions, often without us even realizing it. The unconscious is like a deep well, full of memories, experiences, and emotions that we may have long forgotten, but that still shape who we are and how we move through the world. It is not just a personal repository of repressed memories. It holds universal patterns and archetypes that connect us to the shared experience of humanity. The power of the unconscious is not just psychological. It is spiritual, emotional, and in many ways, a driving force in our lives, waiting to be acknowledged. From a young age, we are taught to focus on the conscious mind, the part of us that makes decisions, solves problems, and interacts with the world directly. We are trained to rationalize our experiences, to explain our emotions and behaviors in logical terms, to seek answers through reason and analysis. But beneath this thin veil of conscious awareness lies a much deeper and more potent force, the unconscious. This vast realm holds the keys to our truest selves. It is where our most profound fears, desires, and motivations reside, waiting to be understood, integrated, and acknowledged. The unconscious is a powerful force that influences not only our thoughts and feelings, but also our behaviors and choices, often in ways we do not recognize. It is an internal landscape that shapes us in ways both obvious and hidden, and we are often unaware of the extent to which it guides our lives. Love, in particular, is an area where the power of the unconscious can be felt most strongly. Have you ever experienced a deep connection with someone that felt fated, as if you had known them before, or as if the universe had conspired to bring you together? These moments are not mere coincidences. They are manifestations of the unconscious mind, which operates outside of our rational control and is often guided by forces that we do not understand. It is as if in these moments the unconscious mind is revealing something deeper to us, something that transcends our individual experiences and taps into a much larger collective understanding. These are the moments when we feel the pull of destiny or fate, when we encounter someone whose presence seems to awaken something dormant within us, something that feels as though it has always been waiting for this precise moment to unfold. This connection, however, is not just a simple encounter of two individuals. It is a reflection of a much larger process occurring within the unconscious. Love that feels fated is a powerful manifestation of the deeper forces at play in our lives. Forces that transcend personal experience and tap into the archetypes that exist within the collective unconscious. These archetypes are universal patterns and symbols that shape human experience, and they are deeply embedded in the unconscious mind. They are not personal memories, but shared symbols, experiences, and images that transcend time, culture, and individual life stories. They are like primordial energies that guide us, often without our awareness, towards certain relationships, experiences, and life paths. In the case of love, these archetypes can manifest as images, symbols, or feelings that arise during certain relationships. For example, we might meet someone and feel as if we have known them for a lifetime, as if our souls are somehow intertwined. This could be an expression of the archetype of the soulmate, an image that transcends individual experience and connects us to a deeper understanding of love. In these moments, the unconscious is not simply guiding us toward a specific person, but is also reflecting our own inner journey and growth. Love, especially the kind that feels fated, often calls us to confront parts of ourselves that we have kept hidden, parts of our psyche that we may not fully understand or accept. It invites us to face the darker aspects of ourselves, to explore the depths of our emotions, and to grow beyond the limitations we have placed on ourselves. The power of the unconscious is not always easy to navigate. At times it can be overwhelming, challenging, and even frightening. The unconscious holds not only the positive and life-affirming aspects of our psyches, but also the darker, shadowed parts of ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unresolved conflict. These parts of the self which we often repress or deny can emerge unexpectedly when we are faced with a deep transformative experience like love. In these moments, we may encounter feelings or desires that we are not prepared for, or we may find ourselves drawn to people and situations that challenge our assumptions about who we are. This confrontation with the shadow, those parts of ourselves that we have hidden away, can be disorienting, but it is also an essential part of the process of personal growth. It is through this confrontation that we begin to integrate these darker aspects of ourselves and move toward greater wholeness. In the case of fated love, the unconscious often brings us together with individuals who serve as mirrors, reflecting back to us the aspects of ourselves that we may not fully understand or accept. These relationships can be intense and transformative, sometimes filled with both profound joy and deep pain. But it is through these experiences that we are given the opportunity to grow, to integrate the parts of ourselves that we have previously ignored, and to move closer to our true, authentic selves. The unconscious, in this sense, is not something to be feared or resisted, but something to be embraced. It is the very force that drives us toward growth, healing, and self-discovery. And so, when love feels fated, it is more than just a meeting of two people. It is an invitation to enter into a deeper relationship with the unconscious mind, to explore the mysteries and challenges that lie within. It is an opportunity to surrender to the flow of life, to trust that the unconscious is guiding us towards something greater than ourselves, even if we do not fully understand it. These moments of deep fated connection are not accidents. They are manifestations of the unconscious mind working to bring us closer to the truth of who we are and what we are meant to become. It is through embracing this process, through surrendering to the mystery of love, that we begin to understand the true power of the unconscious. And in doing so, we come to realize that the love we feel, the love that seems destined, is not something we can ignore. It is something we must embrace fully, for it is leading us toward a deeper, more authentic version of ourselves. Archetypes are deeply ingrained patterns, symbols, and themes that exist within the collective unconscious, shaping our lives and our experiences in ways that we often do not recognize. These archetypes are not bound by individual experience, but are universal, transcending time, culture, and personal history. They are like the primal forces of nature, present within every human being, waiting to emerge and play their role in the unfolding of life. Archetypes are the fundamental building blocks of the psyche, shaping how we see the world, how we experience relationships, and how we relate to ourselves. They provide a structure for understanding our deepest emotions, desires, fears, and struggles. In many ways, archetypes are the invisible threads that connect us to a deeper, more universal truth. The archetypes manifest in a variety of forms, often appearing as characters, symbols, or themes in our dreams, stories, and experiences. They may show up as the hero, the wise old man, the shadow, the animus, the mother, the father, the lover, or any of the other countless archetypes that are part of the shared human experience. Each of these figures represents a certain set of qualities, struggles, and challenges that are universal to humanity. They are not specific to any one individual, but reflect the collective patterns of human life. For example, the hero archetype represents the quest for self-discovery, the journey toward wholeness and the overcoming of obstacles. The shadow represents the repressed and darker aspects of the psyche, those parts of ourselves that we often deny or hide away. The anima and animus are the unconscious opposite genders within each individual, representing the integration of both masculine and feminine qualities. These archetypes are not just abstract concepts. They shape the way we experience love, loss, joy, and suffering. They are the silent actors on the stage of our lives, guiding us through the various chapters of our existence. Love, for instance, is not just an emotional experience, but a powerful archetypal force that plays out in ways that are deeply rooted in our collective unconscious. The love archetype, for example, represents the desire for union, for connection, and for intimacy. It is the driving force behind all romantic and passionate relationships, urging us to seek out deep and meaningful connections with others. When we fall in love, we are not simply experiencing a personal emotion, but are tapping into the universal theme of love that has been present in every culture, every time period, and every story. At the same time, love is often intertwined with other archetypal themes, such as sacrifice, transformation, and separation. These themes are universal because they reflect the fundamental human experience of growth and change. For instance, the hero's journey, often portrayed in myths and stories, often involves a love story where the hero must go through trials, face inner and outer struggles, and make sacrifices in order to attain or preserve love. This is not just a personal journey, but a reflection of the greater human experience. Love, in this context, is not simply a feeling, but a force that calls us to grow, to evolve, and to confront the parts of ourselves that we may not be ready to face. The hero's quest for love becomes a journey of self-discovery, of learning who we truly are and what we are capable of. The sacrifices made along the way reflect the process of shedding old patterns, old beliefs, and old identities in order to embrace a new, more authentic self. At the heart of this journey is the tension between opposing forces. The hero often encounters the shadow, the parts of himself or herself that are repressed, denied, or ignored. In love, this is reflected in the complexities of relationships where we often confront parts of ourselves we are not fully aware or ready to face. The shadow in relationships may manifest as jealousy, insecurity, or fear, emotions that are often hidden beneath the surface, but that shape how we interact with others. These darker aspects of love and relationships are not something to be feared, but understood, for they offer the opportunity for growth and integration. The process of facing and integrating the shadow is a crucial part of the individuation process, the journey toward wholeness and self-awareness. The archetype of the anima animus also plays a significant role in the experience of love. This archetype represents the unconscious opposite gender within each person. For a man, the anima represents the feminine qualities that are hidden within him, and for a woman, the animus represents the masculine qualities within her. In relationships, these archetypal energies often come to the surface, influencing how we connect with others and how we experience attraction. Love becomes a way of integrating these opposites, of bringing together the masculine and feminine aspects of the self in order to create a more balanced and whole individual. In this sense, love is not just about finding another person who meets our emotional needs, but about discovering and integrating the hidden parts of ourselves that we may have been unconscious of. These universal themes and archetypes extend beyond individual relationships and connect us to a larger collective story. Every love story, every relationship is a microcosm of the greater journey of human existence. They reflect the universal struggles and desires that we all share. Our longing for connection, our fear of loss, our need for growth and transformation. This is why love often feels fated or destined. When we encounter a relationship that seems to have a deeper meaning, we are tapping into the archetypes and themes that have shaped human life for centuries. These connections feel profound because they echo the timeless themes of love, sacrifice, and transformation that are present in every culture, every myth, and every story throughout history. The experience of love, particularly the kind that feels fated, is not just about the individual. It is about participating in the universal flow of human existence. It is about understanding that our love stories are part of a much larger narrative, one that connects us to the collective unconscious and to the archetypes that shape our lives. In these moments, we are not merely experiencing personal emotions, but are living out the universal themes of the human condition. Love becomes a way of engaging with the deep archetypal forces that move through us, guiding us toward growth, self-awareness, and transformation. As we experience these profound connections, we begin to realize that the love we feel is not just an individual experience, but part of something much larger, part of the great collective story of humanity. These relationships, these moments of connection, are not accidents or coincidences. They are the manifestation of the archetypes, the universal themes that have been present throughout time. Love, in its deepest form, is an archetypal force that calls us to grow, to transform, and to become more fully who we're meant to be. It is through embracing this love, this connection to the larger human story, that we come to understand the true power of the archetypes and the universal themes that shape our lives. And in doing so, we realize that love in all its forms is not something we can ignore. It is something we must embrace, for it's through love that we tap into the deepest truths of our existence. Synchronicity is a phenomenon that speaks to the mysterious, interconnected nature of life, where seemingly unrelated events align in ways that are too meaningful to be mere coincidence. It is the intersection of inner experience and outer reality, where the outer world reflects something deeply personal or symbolic within the individual. These moments of synchronicity often feel like a sign, a message, or a confirmation that there is a greater order at play in our lives, guiding us toward deeper understanding or personal transformation. When synchronicity happens, it can feel as though the universe itself is speaking directly to us, revealing something that we might not have been able to understand before. It is a reminder that our inner and outer worlds are more connected than we might think, and that the patterns of our lives are often much more than random events. The concept of synchronicity was introduced by the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, who saw it as a causal connection of events that carry meaning, regardless of their lack of direct cause and effect. Unlike the logical cause and effect relationships that we are used to in our everyday experiences, synchronicity is about meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by rational thought. These events seem to transcend the boundaries of time and space, appearing in ways that are not only timely but also significant. They bring together what appears to be two separate realities, our subjective inner world and the objective outer world, in a way that creates a sense of profound harmony or connection. The timing of these events often seems uncanny, and they might present themselves in such a way that they feel like a personal message, reinforcing our thoughts, beliefs, or feelings. When we experience synchronicity, it can feel as though something larger than ourselves is at work. It might come in the form of an unexpected encounter with a person who has a profound impact on our lives. Or it could be a chance event that leads us down a new path of understanding or personal growth. It could also manifest as a series of seemingly unrelated events that, when viewed together, form a coherent and meaningful pattern. These moments can leave us in awe of the mystery and complexity of the world, as they suggest that life is not as random as we may believe, and that there are deeper, unseen connections that guide us through our experiences. In many ways, synchronicity challenges the traditional way we view time and space. It invites us to question the linear, cause and effect framework that governs our understanding of the world. We often see life as a series of discrete events, each with its own cause and effect. Synchronicity points to something beyond this, something that suggests that time and space might be more fluid, more interconnected than we realize. These moments of meaningful coincidence are not confined to the constraints of linear time. They bring together past, present, and future, as if suggesting that everything is connected in a timeless web of experience, one that we are only beginning to understand. Synchronicity also invites us to trust the flow of life, to believe that there is meaning in the events that unfold before us, even if we do not fully understand them at the time. When we experience synchronicity, we are often reminded that life is not just about random occurrences or chaotic events, but that there is an underlying pattern, a deeper order that shapes our experiences. These events may seem insignificant on the surface, but when viewed from a broader perspective, they carry profound meaning, pointing us towards something greater. Synchronicity teaches us that we do not always need to have all the answers, that sometimes the most important insights come when we allow ourselves to simply observe and trust the unfolding of events. In the realm of love, synchronicity can play a particularly powerful role. Relationships often seem to unfold in ways that are inexplicable, as if they are somehow destined or fated. These experiences can feel like moments of connection that are not random but part of a greater design. The moment you meet someone who feels familiar, or the way certain events seem to align perfect to bring you together, can leave you with a sense of awe and wonder. Love that feels fated often carries the energy of synchronicity. Timing that seems too perfect, encounters that feel too significant, and connections that seem to resonate on a deep, almost cosmic level. It is as though the universe has conspired to bring two people together, weaving together threads of past, present, and future into a moment of profound alignment. The experience of synchronicity in love can be particularly powerful because it taps into the deeper layers of our psyche. Love, in many ways, is not just an emotional experience, but also a spiritual journey, one that often challenges us to confront our own inner worlds and our own personal growth. Synchronicity in love often reveals that the meeting of two people is not a simple matter of chance, but part of a much larger process of transformation. The connections we make, the people we meet, the relationships that unfold, these are not just random occurrences, but part of a larger pattern that is unfolding in our lives. These relationships often serve as mirrors, reflecting back to us the parts of ourselves that we are ready to explore, grow, and integrate. When synchronicity appears in our love lives, it can be a sign that we are on the right path, that we are being guided towards something deeper, something more meaningful. These moments may feel like signs from the universe, pointing us in the direction of growth, healing, or self-discovery. The experience of synchronicity in love often invites us to surrender to the flow of life, not to trust that the connections we make are not just random, but part of a greater journey. The people we meet, the love we experience, the lessons we learn from relationships, they are all part of a larger design, a cosmic pattern that is guiding us toward wholeness. Synchronicity also speaks to the interconnectedness of all. It reminds us that we are not isolated beings, that part of a larger web of life, and that the events that unfold in our lives are not just personal, but connected to the greater. Every meeting, every encounter, every relationship is part of this intricate web, and each thread weaves into the next, creating a tapestry of experiences that shape our lives. When synchronicity reveals itself, it is as if the veil between the personal and the universal is lifted, and we see the greater pattern that binds all things together. This realization brings a deep sense of peace and trust, knowing that even the seemingly random events of our lives are part of something much larger. These moments of synchronicity may not always come when we expect them, and they may not always look the way we think they should. They can appear in the form of small, subtle signs or in the form of profound, life-changing events. What matters is that when synchronicity happens, it reminds us that there is meaning in the world, that there is a connection between our inner selves and the outer world, and that there is a greater order to the events of our life. It encourages us to trust the process of life, to surrender to its flow, and to remain open to the signs and messages that may appear when we least expect. And so, when we experience these moments of synchronicity, we are reminded that there is a deeper intelligence at work in our lives, one that transcends logic and reason, and that guides us toward the things that truly matter. Whether in love, in work, or in personal growth, synchronicity is a powerful reminder that the events of our lives are not mere accidents, but part of a grand design. It is this design that calls us to trust, to surrender, and to embrace the connections and experiences that unfold before us, knowing that they are leading us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. It is through this trust, through this surrender, that we come to understand that the love we feel, the relationships that shape us, are not random or accidental. They are part of the great synchronicity of life. And it is this realization that invites us to fully embrace what is meant to be, knowing that we are not merely observers of our lives, but active participants in a much larger cosmic dance. The journey of individuation is an intricate and deeply personal process that marks the path towards cessation and wholeness. It is the process by which a person integrates various aspects of the self, the conscious and the unconscious, into a unified whole. This journey is not simply about personal growth in a traditional sense. It is about embracing every part of oneself, including the parts that are hidden, repressed, or denied. Individuation is the path of becoming who we are truly meant to be, beyond the roles we play or the expectations placed upon us. It is the process of shedding the false self and connecting with the deepest, most authentic expression of who we are. From a young age, we are taught to develop a persona, an outward identity that helps us navigate the world and interact with others. This persona is a necessary function of society, allowing us to engage in social roles, take on responsibilities, and make sense of the world around us. However, this persona can also become a limitation. It often represents a carefully crafted image that may not fully align with our deeper, more authentic selves. Over time, we may find that the persona we've created is not enough to fulfill the deeper longing within us. There is a call to dig deeper, to seek out the parts of ourselves that have been buried, neglected, or forgotten. This is where the journey of individuation begins. At the heart of individuation is the confrontation with the unconscious. The unconscious is not simply a repository of forgotten memories or repressed desires. It is a dynamic force that holds the untapped potential of the psyche. It contains the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we have rejected, denied, or ignored. These parts of us may be uncomfortable to face because they represent the aspects of ourselves that we find difficult to accept. The shadow is often composed of the traits and qualities that we consider negative or undesirable, our insecurities, our fears, our hidden desires, and even our unacknowledged strengths. Yet, it's through acknowledging and integrating the shadow that we begin to move toward wholeness. The shadow is not something to be eliminated. It is something to be understood, accepted, and integrated into the fabric of our being. The process of individuation requires courage, as it invites us to face the parts of ourselves that we have long avoided. It asks us to confront the ways in which we have constructed our identities around superficial ideas of who we should be, rather than who we truly are. This confrontation is often challenging, as it requires us to abandon old beliefs, fears, and projections that have defined our sense of self. But through this process, we begin to discover new depths within ourselves, parts of us that were always there, waiting to be recognized. As we explore the unconscious and integrate the shadow, we also encounter aspects of the unconscious such as the anima and animus. The anima represents the feminine aspect within a man's psyche, And the animus represents the masculine aspect within a woman's psyche. These are not simply gendered qualities. They are universal forces that exist within all of us, regardless of our biological sex. The anima and animus represent the deeper, often hidden qualities that we may not have fully embraced. For men, this may mean embracing the emotional, intuitive, and nurturing aspects of the self, while for women, it may mean embracing assertiveness, logic, and strength. The process of individuation involves coming into a balanced relationship with both the masculine and feminine aspects within us, learning to integrate these energies into our lives in ways that are authentic and empowering. Through the journey of individuation, we also encounter the archetypes, the universal patterns and symbols that shape the human experience. These archetypes, such as the hero, the wise old man, the mother, and the shadow, are the deep underlying forces that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. They are not personal experiences, but collective ones, shared across cultures and time periods. The archetypes are a way of understanding the deeper currents of life and the ways in which we are all connected to a larger universal story. The hero's journey, for example, is an archetypal path that represents the quest for self-discovery, the overcoming of obstacles, and the integration of all aspects of the self. It is the story of moving from ignorance to awareness, from fragmentation to wholeness. The archetypes, like the shadow and the anima animus, are not static or fixed. They evolve as we progress on our journey of individuation, revealing different aspects of the self at various stages of our life. Each archetype has its own unique lesson to teach us, and as we integrate these lessons, we grow into more complete versions of ourselves. The hero archetype, for example, may appear when we are called to face a major challenge or crisis in our lives. It urges us to summon our inner strength and rise to the occasion, but it also calls us to confront our deepest fears and doubts. The wise old man, on the other hand, may appear when we are seeking guidance, wisdom, or spiritual insight, representing the part of us that is connected to timeless wisdom and understanding. As we continue on the path of individuation, we come to realize that the process is not linear. It is not a simple progression from one stage to the next. Rather, individuation is a dynamic cyclical process that unfolds in layers over the course of a lifetime. At times we may feel as though we are stuck or regressing, but this is a natural part of the journey. The process of becoming whole is not about achieving perfection. It is about embracing the ebb and flow of life, accepting both the light and the dark aspects of ourselves, and remaining open to the continuous unfolding of the self. Throughout the journey, we are also guided by the deeper wisdom of the psyche. Dreams, symbols, synchronicities, and intuitions are all signs that help us navigate the path of individuation. The unconscious communicates with us in a language of symbols and images, offering insights into the deeper layers of the self. By paying attention to these messages, we begin to recognize the patterns that are guiding us towards self-discovery and integration. These signs are not random. They are part of the larger cosmic order that is at work within us. As we progress on the journey, we eventually come to the realization that the true self is not something we create or achieve, but something we uncover. The journey of individuation is the process of peeling back the layers of conditioning, false beliefs, and societal expectations to reveal the essence of who we are. It is the process of reconnecting with our true nature, with a deeper, more authentic part of ourselves that exists beyond the persona and the... In this sense, individuation is not about becoming someone we are not. It is about becoming who we have always been, but have perhaps forgotten or neglected. The journey of individuation ultimately leads us to a place of inner harmony and integration. It is through embracing all aspects of ourselves, the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, that we become whole. We learn to live authentically, guided by the deeper wisdom of the self, and we are able to navigate life with a sense of purpose, clarity, and balance. This process is not without its challenges, but it is through these challenges that we grow, evolve, and transform. As we continue to integrate the various aspects of the self, we become more connected to the larger web of life, more attuned to the rhythms of the universe, and more in touch with our own deepest truths. In the end, the journey of individuation is not just about self-discovery. but about becoming an active participant in the unfolding story of life. It is about aligning with the greater flow of the universe, understanding that we are all part of a larger whole and that our journey is connected to the journeys of others. It is through this process of individuation that we come to understand that the love, the connections, and the relationships we experience are not just random. They are part of the larger story of the self becoming whole. The journey of individuation is the process of awakening to this deeper cosmic truth, and it is through this awakening that we discover the love and wisdom that have always been within us, waiting to be embraced. The integration of the shadow is one of the most transformative, essential aspects of the journey towards self-realization. The shadow, in Jungian psychology, refers to the unconscious part of the personality that contains all the traits, desires and impulses that we reject or deny. These may include aspects of ourselves that are deemed socially unacceptable or unpleasant, as well as the emotions and traits we consider weaknesses or flaws. However, shadow is not merely the bad or negative parts of the self. It is also the source of our hidden potential, creativity and strength. The process of integrating the shadow involves bringing these hidden aspects into conscious awareness, accepting them as part of who we are, and learning to embrace them rather than suppress them. The shadow is a natural part of the human experience, formed early in life as we begin to learn the norms, values, and behaviors of the society around us. As we grow, we are taught what is considered acceptable and what is not, and we internalize these standards. The parts of ourselves that do not align with these standards are pushed into the unconscious, forming the shadow. These can include repressed memories, feelings of shame or guilt, desires that we consider inappropriate, or aspects of ourselves that we feel are unacceptable to others. As a result, the shadow becomes a collection of the qualities we deny or reject, often without realizing that they are still influencing our behavior. However, the shadow is not something to be feared or dismissed. It is a powerful force that holds the key to personal growth and transformation. The parts of ourselves that we repress do not disappear. Instead, they continue to affect our lives in subtle and often unconscious ways. We might find ourselves projecting our shadow onto others, seeing in them the qualities that we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. For example, a person who is highly critical of others may be unconsciously rejecting their own imperfections, projecting their dissatisfaction onto those around them. Alternatively, the shadow may manifest in dreams, fantasies, or even physical symptoms, alerting us to the unresolved conflicts within ourselves. The integration of the shadow involves a process of acknowledging and accepting these denied parts of the self. It requires a willingness to confront the aspects of ourselves that we may find uncomfortable, painful, or even shameful. This process is not about indulging in these negative traits or allowing them to control us. Rather, it is about accepting them as part of the human experience and learning to integrate them into a more balanced and authentic version of ourselves. By doing so, we can reclaim the energy and potential that was once locked away in the unconscious and use it to fuel our personal growth. Or, to integrate the shadow, it is necessary to bring it into conscious awareness. This requires self-reflection, honesty, and a willingness to face the parts of ourselves that we would rather ignore. This process can be uncomfortable, as it often involves confronting feelings of shame, guilt, or fear. However, it is through this discomfort that we are able to grow. The act of confronting the shadow is not about eliminating these parts of ourselves, but about accepting them and learning to work with them. This requires compassion for ourselves, as well as the recognition that we are not defined by our flaws or mistakes, but by how we choose to grow and evolve. One of the most powerful ways to begin the process of integration is through self-awareness and mindfulness. By becoming more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we can begin to recognize when the shadow is influencing us. This can be particularly challenging because the shadow operates in subtle and unconscious ways. However, with practice, we can begin to recognize the signs of the shadow at work. We may notice moments when we feel intense anger, jealousy, or fear, and we can take a step back to explore what these emotions are telling us. Often, these emotions are signals that the shadow is active, and they can provide valuable insights into the parts of ourselves that need attention. Another important step in integrating the shadow is to explore the unconscious through dreams and creative expression. Dreams, in particular, are a powerful tool for accessing the unconscious and revealing hidden aspects of the self. Jung believed that dreams are a direct communication from the unconscious, offering valuable insights and guidance for personal growth. By paying attention to the symbols, themes, and emotions in our dreams, we can begin to uncover the hidden aspects of the self that are calling for integration. Creative expression such as art, writing, or movement can also provide a way to access the unconscious and give voice to the parts of ourselves that we may have repressed. These forms of expression can be a safe and cathartic way to explore the shadow and bring it into conscious awareness. The integration of the shadow also involves understanding and accepting the duality of human nature. We are not simply good or bad, pure or flawed. We are a complex mixture of light and dark, strength and weakness, love and fear. By acknowledging the full spectrum of our humanity, we can begin to embrace the contradictions and complexities that make us who we are. The shadow teaches us that we are not defined by our mistakes, but by our ability to learn, grow, and transform. When we accept the parts of ourselves that we have previously rejected, we become more whole, more authentic, and more compassionate. The process of shadow integration is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey. It requires constant self-reflection and a willingness to engage with the parts of ourselves that we may find uncomfortable. As we progress on this journey, we may uncover new aspects of the shadow that we had not previously recognized. This is a natural part of the process, as the unconscious is vast and complex. Each layer of the shadow that we uncover brings us closer to a deeper understanding of ourselves and a greater sense of inner harmony. The more we embrace our shadow, the more we are able to live authentically and with integrity. One of the most profound effects of shadow integration is the sense of wholeness it brings. As we begin to accept all aspects of ourselves, we experience a deep sense of inner peace and balance. We are no longer torn between the parts of ourselves that we wish to deny and the parts that we wish to express. Instead, we become more unified, able to move through life with greater clarity, purpose, and authenticity. The integration of the shadow also allows us to relate to others in a more compassionate and understanding way. When we accept our own flaws and imperfections, we become more accepting of others and their struggle. This deepens our connections and fosters greater empathy and understanding in our relationships. In relationships, the integration of the shadow can also lead to a deeper sense of intimacy and connection. When we are able to confront and accept our own darkness, we become more capable of accepting the darkness in others. This creates space for true vulnerability and authenticity, allowing relationships to evolve into more honest, open, and supportive connections. By integrating the shadow, we move away from projecting our fears and insecurities onto others and instead learn to see them as they are, with all of their complexities and contradictions. Ultimately, the integration of the shadow is about reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we have lost or hidden away. It is about accepting the fullness of who we are, including the parts that we may find difficult to face. It is through the acceptance of the unknown that we are able to step outside of our comfort zones and venture into new territories, both internally and externally. This is where true personal growth occurs, as we are forced to confront our fears, limitations, and beliefs about ourselves and the world. In this process of exploration, we learn to become more flexible, adaptable, and resilient in the face of change. Acceptance of the unknown also requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing the unknown as a threat, we can begin to see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. This shift in perspective is essential for overcoming the fear and anxiety that often accompany uncertainty. When we accept the unknown, we move from a mindset of fear and avoidance to one of curiosity and we begin to see the mysteries of life not as obstacles to be overcome, but as invitations to learn, evolve, and discover new dimensions of ourselves and the world around us. The unknown becomes a source of excitement rather than dread, a space in which we can explore the depths of our potential and experience life in its fullest, most authentic form. The process of accepting the unknown also involves letting go of the need for certainty and control. As human beings, we have a tendency to seek answers and explanations for everything. We want to know the why and the how of every situation, and we often find comfort in having clear plans, goals, and expectations. However, life does not always provide us with the answers we seek, and the future remains a mystery that we can never fully predict or control. The more we try to control the unknown, the more it is. It is only when we let go of the need for certainty that we can truly accept the unknown and open ourselves to the flow of life. In letting go, we release the grip of the ego, which thrives on control and certainty, and make room for the deeper, more intuitive aspects of the self to emerge. As we learn to accept the unknown, we also come to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. The unknown is not a separate or isolated force. It is part of the larger fabric of existence. The more we accept the unknown, the more we come to understand that everything is in constant flux, and that life is an ongoing process of change and evolution. Nothing remains fixed or permanent, and it is this very fluidity that allows for creativity and transformation. The unknown is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced as a natural and necessary part of life. In accepting the unknown, we begin to experience the interconnectedness of all things, seeing how every moment, every encounter, and every experience is part of a larger, unfolding narrative. This sense of interconnectedness also extends to our relationships with others. When we accept the unknown, we become more open to the mysteries of other people. We stop trying to categorize or define them based on preconceived notions, and instead, we allow them to reveal themselves in their own time and in their own way. This creates space for deeper, more authentic connections, as we are no longer trying to impose our expectations or judgments on others. Instead, we are able to meet them as they are, with all their complexities, contradictions, and mysteries. In this way, the acceptance of the unknown fosters a deeper sense of empathy, compassion, and understanding in our relationships. One of the most transformative aspects of accepting the unknown is the growth in self-trusted cultivation. When we are willing to embrace uncertainty, we learn to trust ourselves to navigate whatever challenges or opportunities come our way. We recognize that we do not need all the answers, and that we are capable of adapting and responding to whatever life throws at us. This sense of self-trust allows us to live with greater freedom and confidence, knowing that we have the inner resources to handle whatever comes our way. It is through this trust in ourselves and in the unknown that we are able to fully engage with life, to take risks, and to step into new experience with openness and curiosity. The acceptance of the unknown is ultimately a journey of surrender. It is the surrender of the need to control, the surrender of the ego's desire for certainty, and the surrender of our attachment to fixed outcomes. In surrendering to the unknown, we align ourselves with the flow of life, allowing it to guide us toward new discoveries, new experiences, and new forms of growth. It is through this surrender that we come to understand that life is not something to be controlled or mastered, but something to be lived and experienced in all its richness and complexity. The unknown is not a place to be feared, but a space in which we can discover the deepest truths about ourselves and the world around us. It is in this acceptance of the unknown that we are able to find true peace, wisdom, and fulfillment, for it is through embracing the unknown that we embrace the fullness of life itself. You said, "Give me conclusion of overall speech," ChatGPT said. In embracing the unknown, we come to understand that life's true essence is found not in certainty, but in the mystery that unfolds with each passing moment. The unknown is not a threat to be feared, but an opportunity for transformation, growth. By accepting it, we liberate ourselves from the confines of the ego's need for control and open ourselves to the boundless potential of life. The unknown is the space where we find our deepest strength, creativity, and wisdom, and it is through our willingness to step into it with openness and curiosity that we truly learn who we are. Ultimately, it is in the acceptance of the unknown that we find the freedom to evolve, to connect with others, and to live authentically, in harmony with the ever-changing flow of existence. It is not in knowing all the answers, but in trusting ourselves to navigate the uncertainties, that we discover the fullness of life's experience.